Howdy, Michael here, Mountain Strong, cup of coffee, Brazil from Idle Hands Roasting Company here in Salt Lake City. I want to spend some time on literally the why of strength training for mountain athletes and endurance athletes. This topic is always relevant for me because I run a strength and conditioning gym and this is what we do. And I have coaches that work with me who are on average about half my age and on average have about a third to a quarter as much experience in this field as I do. And I'm not actually going to pout. I'm not touting my experience or my age as the defining characteristics of my skills and of my quality. Rather, just simply that experience comes with time. And time, if your brain does what my brain does, includes lots and lots of time of thinking and reflecting and saying, hey, how do I get better, right? Where are the opportunities to get better? And some of getting better is actually just having conversations, kind of like this one. I have a few people that I've worked with over the years who have been absolute gold mines in getting me to think more and more about ideas, right? And philosophy. And what I found is that conversations with Joe and with Will and with the other Will and with Yana and with the coaches that I've hired over the years have led me to certain beliefs, right? And seeing certain patterns that I probably only got to see because of these conversations. So where that leads us to is with that experience and that thought process and that reflection and those conversations, getting to the place of having some lines in the sand that I'm willing to draw. And one of those is on the topic of why mountain athletes, endurance athletes should strength train. And that really is another way of saying, what's the benefit for mountain athletes and endurance athletes? Because one reason I could say mountain athletes and endurance and strength train is because I run a business and mountain athletes and endurance athletes are my clients, right? And like, that's who I've decided to work with. And therefore I need you to strength train so that you work with me, right? That's the business model. But that's actually not it, right? Like it's a terrible why. But the why is really, what are the outcomes? What are the benefits? And so let's just like unpack this for a second. If you say, well, like, you just should, we end up with this, well, where should I go then? What are my options? You could find yourself in a CrossFit gym. You could find yourself in an Orange Theory. You could find yourself in a yoga studio that does yoga with weights. You could end up in a powerlifting gym. You can end up in a strongman gym. You could end up in an Olympic weightlifting club. You could end up in a calisthenics bodyweight group, right? There's all of these options. And if we don't start with why, we don't know what a good option might be. So let's talk about this, right? Let's just pick a couple of these to unpack. CrossFit even has or had an endurance program, right? It was called CrossFit Endurance. Brian McKenzie created it. And I learned a lot from going through the CrossFit Endurance certification and like playing in that area. I was playing in that space for a little bit. But one of their core beliefs, one of the core tenets of CrossFit Endurance was you got to do CrossFit workouts like 3 or 4 times a week. Very, very high intensity, and like mixed movement, right? So you'd be doing barbell stuff and pull-ups and burpees and whatever else. And the problem with that is that there's this aspect of it that's truly, truly non-specific. And if we look at powerlifting, where you squat and you deadlift and you bench press, again, it's specific in certain ways, right? Like these are these 3 movements that you have. But both CrossFit and powerlifting and Orange Theory and yada yada, they're all non-specific in 2 super important ways. The first is that none of these systems are inherently specific to you. And that's important. because you are a unique snowflower, unique snowflower. You are a unique snowflake, sunflower. You have goals and dreams and desires. You have the things that you want in this world for yourself. And if you have a program where the mission is to get better at a squat, a deadlift, and a bench press, if you want to get better at those things, then you should totally do that. That inherently is a good program, right? Its goals and your goals line up. However, if your goal is a faster mile time or better performance on a 100-mile ultra race, or you are trying to age well and have as many movement options as possible when you're 70 and 80, or if you're trying to, enjoy longer days in the mountains, backcountry skiing this winter, we have to say, like, being generally stronger for those activities is probably going to help. And yeah, like your deadlift is going to train you how to pick stuff up off the floor, like, grandkids and laundry baskets. But to go down the road of like, that's the answer, feels really short-sighted to me. So I just want to that's one version of specificity, is whether or not the program is specific to you. But here's the other one. Is the program specific to your activities and to your sports? And again, if you have chosen, hey, I want to be a competitive CrossFitter, then yes, you got to train CrossFit, right? It's the right thing to do. And if what you're looking for is like general calorie burn, then CrossFit or Orange Theory can both work reasonably well. But the moment we start saying, I have these specific goals for this objective, and my objective is a climbing objective or a skiing objective or a running objective, well, then we again say, is this program specific enough? And so the program can be more specific to you, and the program can be more specific to the sport. And I'll tell you, there's not a world in which the ultimate answer isn't specificity. All we have to do is look at the training programs of Olympic athletes, or look at the training programs of world-class whoever's, Formula One racers, basketball players, NFL players, soccer players. Take your pick. The people who are making a living doing the things are getting really, really good at doing the things, and they have training programs that are optimized to help them get and stay really good at doing the things. If we want to look for a model of how we should train and how we do things, let's look at the people who like do it for a living and get paid millions of dollars to do it. And it's interesting because if I brought up Formula One, and, Formula One drivers have, their bodies face a lot of stress. Muscularly, they don't have to generate a whole lot of power, right? They're not shooting, they're not trying to shoot, 3-pointers from halfway across the basketball court. And they're not trying to run through linebackers that are trying to take their heads off, but instead they have to deal with the forces of physics. And so they need particular kinds of strength, and they need particular reaction speed in order to be able to react. And they need really powerful legs. The brake pedals on those cars are apparently incredibly stiff. And so like every one of these athletes has different sets of needs globally. Globally, this is true. Find me the sport that doesn't require some specificity. And I'm going to just say we're probably thinking about it the wrong way. We're probably thinking about it differently. So if we need specificity of sport and activity, we need some specificity to person. How do we do that? And I'll tell you, I think there's exactly one answer, which is, first, figure out where your gaps are relative to the training out, relative to the objectives that you have for yourself. The second is, because this is how you boost performance, right? You boost performance by improving your skill set, all of your qualities, not your quality, you're a wonderful person, but like your qualities, your speed, your power, your agility, your athleticism, your endurance, your short form work capacity, your long form work capacity. You basically tweak these, you twist these dials relative to your objective. If the goal is to be, a state record holder in the 1 mile, then there's certain things that you need that are really different than if you are trying to like take state title in pickleball. Again, both awesome, like you do you, but different, right? Different knobs, different dials, different levers we have to pull to different degrees. F1 and golf, right? Like we just like get to these places. All of these dials exist, and the dials are actually the same for every sport. It's just where we dial them up and dial them down, because dials are based on human capacities. So specificity to the person, specificity to the sport should be the gold standard. That should be where we start. And if we're trying to boost performance, then we want to increase our capacities, our qualities in the direction of alignment with the needs of that sport. If you have never thought about what the needs are of the sport, well, then we have an opportunity to like have a conversation and try to figure that out. Once we know the needs of the sport, we have to then also assess where we are and where do we have capacity and where are we lacking capacity. And the goal is to then improve, right? Like get better with the levers that are going to make us better at the sport. And whatever lever is the furthest from the ideal, that's going to be our low-hanging fruit. Theoretically, sometimes not always the easiest thing to address. All of this is predicated that you're not already broken, right? You're not already in pain. If we're dealing with pain, then we actually have to do work to return to just like baseline and be ready to approach it. Because if you were in pain, then the assessment says not how do we get to the target. The assessment says how do we get ready to do work to get to the target. And that's an important piece. Training with pain is really different than training like that is pain aware. And what I want for everybody is training that's pain aware, training that says, hey, let's use our training stimulus to improve the conditions that are related to that pain. I'm not a physical therapist. My coaches aren't physical therapists. What we are really good at is improving the envelope and widening the range of motion that we have that's pain-free. So specificity to individual, specificity to sport, make sure that you're starting from a place that's pain-free, and then we can build there. And that's how we boost performance. But the other side of this isn't just, can you do it today? It's also, can you do it in a year and 5 years and a decade and a few decades out? Because that's the other piece that I want for you, right? And now we're into the categories of durability and longevity. If you are aiming to improve your durability, now we're talking about being a little bit more well-rounded, right? And this isn't just like, yeah, we could say that this is cross-training. However, it's still specific to the person and it's still specific to the activity, but we're now trying to round this out. Simplest example in the world, golfers. I would be surprised if there's ever been a golfer whose like big power was that they could like hit switch, right? Like I can swing the ball to the right, I can like swing my club to the right, I can swing my club to the left. Now, in baseball, we value that because a switch hitter might put the ball into a different part of the field. And in tennis, we have to be able to rotate both ways. Everyone will still have a stronger rotational direction. And that's typically going to be their forehand because of how they grip their racket. But a golfer is going to spend all day, all season, all career swinging their golf club in one direction, which means that their rotational bias is always in one direction. Rounding that out, evening that out is a good thing for the sake of muscular control, muscular balance. There's going to be a whole bunch of muscular development that happens because of that, like repetition, always rotating the same direction. We should round that out. It's going to help with their durability. It might cost their performance, but that's why we think about this in terms of seasons. And we don't try to do everything all at once. So specificity to the person and specificity to the sport. And when we're trying to boost performance, we are trying to improve our capacities relative to the sport. However, when we're trying to improve our durability and our longevity, we need to start improving our well-roundedness, rounding out the edges. If we're always doing one thing, to be well-rounded means we need to spend some time doing the other things. Really good example for all of us probably. if we spend all of our time on the bike or skiing or running, all of these sports have the knees and the hips moving through a truncated range of motion, a short range of motion. I mean, runners, like if we go to the park and watch 100 runners run by and take photos of them and then take a little protractor and measure their knee angle, right? What's the range of their knee angle? If a straight leg is 180 degrees and a 90-degree bend at the knee is 90 degrees, right? No one is ever hitting full extension. No one is ever straight-legged at 180 degrees. Our knees are actually capable of a little bit of hyperextension. It's part of the joint structure. It's healthy for us. So let's just say that we full extension is 185 or 190 degrees, little hyperextension. No one's ever hitting hyperextension running. We don't want them to, right? We don't want them to. And then how far up is their knee ever coming under load? Well, under load, it's only loaded when the foot's on the ground. So that's probably at 70 degrees. And then how far up does the foot come? Like, what's the maximum knee bend? If someone is sprinting, if someone is truly putting it out, maybe they're hitting 90 degrees of flexion. So generously, right? Someone is moving from 170 to 90 degrees of flexion. That's their whole knee range of motion. But how much is the knee capable of? The knee can go out to about 180, definitely, often 185, 190 degrees of, straight or even over straight. And it should also be able to come up to heel to butt functionally. So what are we talking about? Like, maybe it's not 0 degrees, because they're not, the shin and the calf and the hamstring both take up space. But let's just say we're to like 30 degrees. So the knee is capable of 30 to 180. But runners are only moving 90 to 170. Short range of motion, truncated range of motion. It was a long one, I'm sorry. Because of that truncated range of motion running, it's really easy to say, how do we round out runners? How do we even them out? Let's get them spending time in deep flexion and in full extension, ideally under load, because those are places the joint doesn't go when we're running. And where do you do that? Well, like the gym is literally the easy answer to that question. And maybe it's, work that you do at home. And so you set up a little home gym, and maybe your home gym is literally 2 square feet of living room space that you like do some work, that you do some work in the evenings. That's fine. That works. But the notion here is, the point here to walk away with is that if you're trying to boost your performance, you need to increase your capacity on those things, on those skills, those qualities that are directly aligned to your activities. And if you are aiming to improve your durability and your longevity, you generally need to be rounding yourself out and looking just outside of that. There's so many examples of this where the way that we're moving, the way that people are moving is limited. And there's not a single sport, there's not a single activity that is the everything for us. There just isn't. I buy into the notion that like humans are pretty uniquely structured for walking upright, walking on 2 legs, right? Like it's a thing that we do. Not another animal that has evolved for those same capacities in the same way that we have it. And so like walking is a standard thing that humans do. Another thing that humans do, other animals do but it's breathing, right? Walking and respiration are 2 really good examples of like, these are things that humans should be able to do pretty well. And so if we look at how the foot moves, how the ankle moves, how the body moves when we walk, we could say, hey, anything that we're doing that is a truncated version of walking, we should probably think about rounding that out. Here, easy example here as well. When we spend time skiing, we spend time in ski boots, snowboard boots, the same thing. The snowboard boot, the ski boot is going to allow our ankle a little bit of a range of motion, but it is by definition a limited range of motion. It is designed to have no pliability left to right, because if you send your knees that way, you want the skis to edge that way so you can turn that way, right? You don't want lateral flex, but our ankles have lateral flexibility. Not a lot, but a little bit. And we want to be able to control that. And so if we're spending a lot of time in ski boots, where we're like in these casts that are holding our foot stable, we also need to be able to create that stability ourselves. How do you do that? Well, you need to spend some time challenging that stability, because you're not doing it in ski boots. Same thing is true for forward and backward. The ski boot is going to limit our range of motion. This is why modern ski boots a lot of them have walk modes. It's why walk mode is a thing that matters, is because the ski boot locks your ankle into a relatively static position, some degree of flexion. And then, the boot softness or stiffness is going to dictate how much it moves off of that. But that means your foot is always supported. That means your foot is supported and it's limited in its range of motion. If you want to be durable for lots and lots of ski seasons and avoid injury, not just skiing, but in life, you need to spend some time rounding that out. You need to spend some time with the foot moving through the ranges of motion that it doesn't get when you're in a ski boot. That's it, right? That's really it. And so when we think about a training program and we think of like, hey, where should I go? I'll give you my biases, right? Which is, if what you care about, if the thing that matters most to you is community, and you want to be with other people who are just like really excited to do hard shit with you, CrossFit has nailed that. I spent time in a CrossFit gym. I spent time coaching CrossFit. It's good. It's good. Community is awesome. If what you want is to go burn a lot of calories and like kind of get hyped up for it, Orange Theory is probably a solid plan. If you want some combination of those, F45 might be a solid plan. But if what you need and want is something that is built for you, not just like private coaching and someone who's writing a program for you, but someone who can write a program for you that is based on what you want and what you need in terms of your short-term performance and your longer-term longevity and durability, like you need to be working with someone who is thinking in these ways of saying, hey, where are you? What do you have? What do you need? What do you need in the short term to be great at what you care about? And then what do you need to be well-rounded? That's what you got to do. Like that's it. And yeah, like that's what we do at Mountain Strong. Of course, love to talk to you. But even if it's not with us, right? Make sure that you're having a conversation with someone that understands the needs of your sport, that understands how to help you round out your capacities, so that you can enjoy the stuff for as long as possible. That's it. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for sticking around. Like, subscribe, do all the things. See you next time.